Jai Shri Jagannath. Welcome to this class, and today is the last class of Unit 1. So today's topic is that is formal communication and non-formal and semi-formal. On the basis of styles of communication, we are classifying the communication under three basic heads: formal, non-formal, semi-formal. In addition to that, there are two other aspects, two other communications, that is political correctness and bias-free communication. These are the ethical aspects of communication. So this is the today's topic of discussion. Let's proceed to what is formal, what is non-formal, what is semi-formal. So what is formal communication? The word itself, formal, indicates that it is structured, formal. That means formal communication is ensured or is conducted in a formal environment, not in an informal environment. So what are the basic features of formal communication? Adequacy, objectivity, conciseness, preciseness, structured language. We must have to follow the linguistic etiquettes. Accountability must be there. Responsibility must be there. Discipline must be there. Objectivity must be ensured. And we must use the official terms, official words. For example, need and require. So require is an official term. Need is a local term, general, informal language. Another example I am giving: ask, inquire. Ask is an informal language, but inquire is a formal language. Strong, formidable. Strong is an informal language. Formidable is an official language. Important, essential. Importance is an informal language. Essential is a formal language. So as we are dealing with formal communications, so we must use formal language, not colloquial language. By the way, formal communication, these are the basic features of formal communication. And context. The context is classroom situation, professional presentations, academic essays, official and government correspondence. Particularly, professional presentations and official and government correspondence is the context here. And what are the examples of formal communication? One example I am giving: suppose we are writing an application to our higher authority, or writing a project proposal to the government. So we must have to use formal language. As we are writing the application to the authority, we cannot use informal language because the decorum will be lost. Then there are some limitations of formal language, formal communication also. What is the basic limitation? Excessive formality, excessive strictness may hamper the originality, may hamper the flexibility, may hamper the innovative thoughts. Because too much strictness leads to the loss of flexibility, loss of openness. We cannot be so open because we are too much formal and structured. So this is the limitation of formal communication. Then let's proceed to the non-formal. Non-formal communication, just the opposite of formal. Formal, aupacharika; non-formal, anupacharika. The non-formal communication, in this case, we can use informal language. But that is the most basic feature of non-formal language, non-formal communication, is that we can use casual. We can be casual in our expressions. We can use short forms. We can use contractions. We can use slangs. We can use abbreviation. We can use local terms. We can use colloquial language. So because here we are too much casual, we are informal. So we are not bothered about the conversation because we are dealing with our friends. And here another basic feature of informal communication, that is non-formal communication, is that emotional. Because we are dealing with our friends, our peers, our family members, so we can be emotional, we can be sensitive, so emotional tune can be there. Then there is no strict uniformity, no strict uniform structure is available. Anytime we can approach any flexibility. Maybe textual, maybe non-textual, maybe verbal mode, maybe non-verbal mode, maybe one way, maybe two way. Whatever approach is flexible to the situation, that we can apply here. Then free exchange of ideas. Here we are completely free informal, because we are dealing with our friends, family relationships. So we are free, we are having complete freeness for extending our informations, for extending our ideas, for extending our feelings and emotions. Then another basic feature here, strengthening and bonding of relationships. So using formal language, we cannot strengthen the relationships. Formal language generally is acclaimed to higher authorities, boss, but informal language to the nearer and dearer ones. So bonding of relationship is the basic feature of non-formal communication. Then what is the context here? The context is family members, friends, relatives, peers. This is the context. And what is the example? And an example I am giving. For example, suppose we friends have seen a movie. After seeing the movie, we are discussing about the movie in an informal manner. Or any discussion about a particular issue, we are discussing among our friends, we are using informal language. Any event happened in the village and we are discussing it with our friends. So that is the informal language we are using. There is also limitation of non-formal communication. So what is the limitation? The basic limitation is that we cannot use non-formal communication in the academic setups, in the professional setups, in the academic environment we cannot use, isn't it? Because the audience is different. By the way, we'll proceed to the semi-formal communication. Semi-formal means balancing between formal communication and informal communication. That is semi-formal, balancing the formal aspect of communication and non-formal aspect. So both to be used. That means professionality will be there, but not accessible. But professionalism will be there, but yet accessibility will be ensured. Professional yet accessible, and moderate level of formality will be maintained. Then we can hear the flexibility in interaction styles. In our interaction styles, we are not completely flexible, but still the flexibility is there. So what are the other features of semi-formal communication? That is polite but not rigid. That means we must have polite expressions, but rigidity should be avoided. Moderate level of formality. That means balancing between formal communication and informal communication. Flexibility in interaction. And we must have conversational language. The language which is used for conversation that we can adapt here. Then there are some context. The context of non-formal, semi-formal communication is that particularly our classroom situation is the example of semi-formal communication, because here the teacher is not to be too much bothered about the formal language. He is to use formal language mostly, and sometimes he can use informal language in the class. And what is the limitation of this semi-formal communication? While to be accessible, it is very impractical all times to be plan about the formal and informal communication. So balancing is itself a technical technique. It's a technical thing, technical aspects. So balancing is a major thing. So sometimes the communicator may feel inaccessible to the point. Then in addition to that, formal, non-formal and semi-formal communication, this is the styles of communication. There are two ethical aspects of communication. One is political correctness and one is bias-free communication. So what is bias-free communication? Bias in the sense, तो आमर कोनोसी प्रति पक्षपातिता रहिबा दरकार नहीं, आवश्यक नहीं. जेमति कि no biasness, our constitution says that no biasness on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, color, creed, any disabilities. So no discrimination should be there. Generally, in our communication setups, there are different communities of learners. There are different audiences, coming from different backgrounds, different religions, different castes, different sex, and different disabilities also there. So that time we are dealing with that. So we must be bias-free. Our communication must be bias-free. The basic features of the bias-free communication is that we must use an integral approach of the language. We must use inclusive language, and we must avoid the offensive language. We must use non-discriminatory language, and we should not use the language which hampers the audience. So it is the basic limitation of this thing that dealing with the categories of learners, the communities of learners having different backgrounds, so it's a very technical Herculean task, because we have to be sensitive while dealing with the language. Different communities of learners are there. So if somehow imbalance is there, means the decorum of the class will be lost, and discrimination may be created, and communication will be ineffective. By the way, the context of bias-free communication class is that here the community, the audience is from different backgrounds, having different castes, different colors, different creeds, different disabilities. So while dealing with the audience, we must be technical, we must be tactical. It is a Herculean, though it is a Herculean task, but we have to be practical in our approach. This is all about the bias-free communication. Then what is political correctness? The same thing here. Political correctness, we must be technical, handle the community, because the community is having different backgrounds. So technically, we must adapt the community. The basic features of political correctness is the similar as in the case of bias-free communication. We must use inclusive language, we must integral approach, we must use non-discriminatory language, and we must be practical in our approach. We should have heard the offensive language, because our constitution ensures equality, fraternity, justice, liberty. So all these things we must take in our mind while dealing with the audience. Justice must be ensured, equality must be ensured, fraternity must be ensured. So that thing should be taken into consideration. So this is all about the discussion of styles of communication today. By the way, our chapter is over. If any doubts or confusions in your mind, you can ask me, you can give your feedbacks, so that accordingly we'll plan the next class. That's all. Thank you. Jai Jagannath.